Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. I wanted to make a quick video about this. You'll notice that my Kite-AL looks a little bit different. These are 3D printed scales that were sent to me by Bandage. I don't think that he's planning on selling these or anything like that. These were just something that he made and he was like, hey, saw your video on the Kite-AL, I'm going to send you these because it might make you like the Kite-AL. But I wanted to make this video because I really do think there is something here. Now, why does my kite look like this specifically? Well, that's because this pivot was way too tight and I stripped the shit out of both sides of the screw. So it is going to be a much bigger process to get those scales off. And that's going to be a process I'm not going to be able to do, as the time that you're watching this, I will be out of town and basically all my channels are just uploading stuff that I have pre-recorded. So this will be something in the future. But thankfully, even though I only have the scales on one handle, I did remove the screw from the bottom here to try and like balance it out a little bit. And somehow, even with that screw missing, the G10 is still heavier than this side with the screw. So, yeah. Anyway, the beautiful thing about being able to change one handle completely is that this is going to allow me to tell how it fans. Because the thing with fanning is it's really only a balance thing between the handle and the blade that you're fanning. The handle that you're holding doesn't matter whatsoever. So it's actually a really cool thing that you can do if you have a balisong that you can change the balance point of. You can put different weights in each handle and physically feel the difference between fanning both of the handles. And that's how I know that the G10 feels a little bit heavier. Because when I fan holding these 3D printed scales, it does feel a little shaky like the original AL. But when I fan using the normal scales, which means, you know, the 3D printed scales are the ones that I'm actually balancing, it feels a lot more even to me. This turns the AL from a balisong that I didn't really enjoy fanning a ton. It still fanned fine, but it wasn't great, into a balisong that I actually really enjoy fanning. And it's actually killing me that I'm not able to get the other side off. I'll get them off at some point, but again, it's just not something I can do at current moment. But the change from G10 to a lighter 3D printed material is substantial enough to actually make a noticeable balance difference, at least when fanning. Now, I guess I could also do a chaplain. This is not really the... Whoa, that flew off really easily. This isn't really the most scientific test, since chaplains do rely on both handles more than just a fan does, but I love how this fans. So I literally just wanted to make this video to say that 3D printed scales for the Kite-AL, if you're looking for a less handle biased experience in your Kite-AL, 3D printed scales might be the way to go. It actually takes off, even with the weight in the bottom of the handles, it takes off a significant amount of weight, such that it is a vastly different fanning experience just from changing the one handle, which is pretty cool. It's really cool, actually. I wish, again, I was able to get the other side off so that I could figure out if it had taken off so much weight that it's no longer good for things like chaplains, rollover, stuff like that. Unfortunately, that's not the case. If I do chaplain this, it does feel as sticky as before, but I think that's because we have taken away a little weight, but not as much as would be taken off if I were to get both of the scales over. Now, I mean, I can try and do this again, but I really just can't get these screws. No matter how hard I push down, it slips constantly. So I think I have just stripped and ruined both sides of these screws, unfortunately. Which, these screws were on there tight. Like, all of the other ones on the balisong were very difficult to get out, so I just didn't put the proper amount of force down on these screws to get them loosened. And I've tried everything from, you know, using a driver on both sides of the screws to putting my full weight into downward force and then trying to turn. Yeah, it's just not working. Those screws are unfortunately stripped, which is weird because they don't look stripped to me. They look maybe a little stripped, but I don't know. This is going to be a project for when I'm actually back and able to work on this stuff. But yeah, it is a vastly improved experience to me. So I think this is something to look into. It's not enough for me to say go out and buy 3D printed scales for this thing right now if someone is making them. Like, again, it could be the situation where I get both of them on and it just takes off too much weight and then the rest of the flipping experience sucks. But from everything that I am feeling right now, I'm willing to bet you're going to lose some. Like, my prediction, take it with a grain of salt, is that you are going to lose some Chaplin and rollover performance, but not enough to ruin the balisong. And I think that the trade-off, if you're someone who enjoys fanning things, is going to be worth it. Because, let me tell you, this takes the Kite-AL from a balisong that I haven't flipped a ton since I finished my follow-up on it, to a knife that I would absolutely flip as much as I flip my cheese. This fans and choker fans excellently. I love that reduced handle weight that these give off. They are a little bit... Nope, never mind. That's the G10 scale side. I was going to say they're a little bit uncomfortable, but that is the G10 scale side, and because there's no screws in the bottom here, these do have a little bit of freedom to move. So that's what's happening there. I need to think of ways to get the screws off. I don't know. This will probably be my first... This is my first time stripping stuck screws, so I think this will be a learning experience for me for sure. Thank goodness LDY has spare hardware, because I think I might just have to drill straight through the pivot on this one, which does suck. But that is the reason that the spare hardware is so good, because it allows you to do stuff like that and you don't have to worry about it too much. So think of this as a video that says there is something here. People should probably look into this. If the handle bias of the Kite-AL is something that you want to reduce, this is something to look into. And be careful with your screws, because they strip pretty easily if you're not putting proper force down. Because LDY loves to hard crank their screws nowadays. It is insane. I also did confirm while I had it apart, there is no weight system on the Kite-AL. This is just a full slab. I don't know if you guys can see in there, but this is a full slab of aluminum hiding at the end. You know, you just put in your typical barrel spacer, not barrel spacer. You put in your typical barrel and then you screw it in, and that acts as a weight system of sorts, but it also keeps in the G10 scale. So it's not really a weight system more than it is just the typical like sandwich screws that you would see on any other sandwich or chamwich balisong. Even though this is channel, technically the scales mean that those screws down there are necessary. I mean, you can kind of hear with these missing, it's like, it's a bit rattly, sounds a bit different. So yeah, it does feel pretty good without the weights. I will say that, like, when I just fan without the weights, it is a good amount of weight reduced, but just not enough. I think the problem is that there's still a lot of weight up here that's not being removed, whereas this puts that momentum that the screw is, you know, it puts the momentum of the screw back down at the bottom of the handle, and then more evenly reduces weight all the rest of the way throughout the handle, which is a very it's a much more elegant way to do that than to just remove the weight at the end of the handles, which can lead to momentum issues and stuff like that. So I think that is going to do it. There is definitely something here. Thank you, Bandage, for sending these things out. I really appreciate it. I wish I could get both of them on, but there's something here. Maybe I'll update you guys in the future if I'm ever able to get this, like fully set up. But for now, this serves as a warning. Be careful with your LDY screws, because they are tough little buggers. I tell you what. All right. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Later.